What's going on, guys? It's the RPO podcast. We are here live again. It's your favorite college football podcast. I'm your humble host, Jerome Jones. We got Ray Roberts in the building. How you doing, Ray?
I'm good, Jerome. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Football is coming. We got
Yeah.
some NFL schedules just came out. We got not sure about the college football. We're still it's still murky about that right now. But at least we got NFL schedule, right? How do you feel about that little schedule with them practicing? And how do you think this is going to play out real quick before we start?
I think that if the other sports do okay, like as we've spoken about before, that they'll probably wind up at least getting started. I still worry about them getting the season in.
Yeah.
Because if somebody comes up with some kind of virus or something, we'll see what happens. But I think if baseball does okay, that they'll just keep moving forward with football. You know what I mean? So
definitely. As long as everybody, please make sure you're wearing your mask outside. You wear your mask. We can get some football going. And, we're all in here. We're all, waiting for some football, waiting for something to come off, hoping there's an actual season. We got fantasy coming up, and hopefully, that don't be in vain because, we actually want the season to start. So make sure you're protecting yourself, protecting others, and doing the right thing as far as getting everything back in order. So to continue what we did last week, we were talking about we went through the whole offense in college. So every position in college, top 5 of those. Last week we did interior defensive linemen and edge rushers. The last 2 weeks, I'm sorry. This week we're going to talk about linebackers. Also, we're going to go into the Sun Belt conference. So we went through almost all the conferences so far in our last couple of podcasts. So if you haven't seen them already, go back, watch those podcasts, listen to what we think about those conferences and what teams are better and the better players in those conferences. But today we're doing Sun Belt and we're talking about linebackers. So to get right into it, Ray, let's get right into this. Who is your top 5 linebackers in NCAA right now?
All right. Well, the first one's, I don't think it's going to be anybody surprised, is Micah Parsons from Penn State.
Yeah.
I mean, he's pretty much a do-it-all, do-everything guy. He's, 6'3", 245, very athletic, over 100 tackles, 5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles. He actually was a converted defensive end from high school, but they've turned this kid into quite the stud as an outside, again, can do everything, can rush quarterback, can drop back, he can do a little bit of everything. So he's number 1. Number 2 is Dylan Moses from Alabama, another guy who pretty much probably like the most pro-ready linebacker in this year's draft. Like you could just plug him in at middle linebacker and tell him that, and he could pretty much do the job. And he's probably going to be a 3-down linebacker, at least in the beginning, until he proves he can't do it because he has done it in college. So, Number 3 is Nick Bolton from Missouri. Another 6 foot, 235, 240 kid, very athletic, 100 tackles, good athlete, can tackle well, covers well, can, not afraid to get it in and, go man against a guard or a tackle, to get after the quarterback. So really good football player. He's from Missouri. My 4th kid is Chaz Surratt from North Carolina. Another guy who could probably do a little bit of everything. 115 tackles last year, 66 solo. Actually, a kid who played quarterback until he converted to linebacker from high school.
Didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, so really athletic, 6'3", 230, 235.
I'm sorry, did he play both ways or was it just he was strictly a quarterback?
He played both ways, but he played – I think it was one of them things where if he had a long series, they would give him breaks. But he played, I think, defensive line, some linebacker in high school also. But he was a starting quarterback. Definitely. So, again, a smart player and a very good football player, obviously. And my number 4 is just probably – this is a little bit of a sentimental guy. I love Patty Fisher from Northwestern. He's been a crazy productive player at Northwestern. Probably only a 2-down linebacker at the next level, but a kid who will get on the field and plays with his brain as well as his body. Again, 6'4", 250, has the size, smart kid, good tackler. again, a great rundown player on first and second down, who probably will only be a 2-down linebacker in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Before we get to Tom Stone's list, like I said, every week we use Stone's list and compare it to Ray's. Before we get into that, though, we do have somebody in the chat room, Mr. Darius. What's going on, Darius? He said Air It Out is checking in. So Air It Out is our pro football podcast. He's one of the co-hosts on there. So what's going on, Darius? Anybody else that wants to come in and put in a message in here, we are glad to do that. We like to it's a very interactive podcast. So if you have any questions, if you want to say anything about your favorite players, come in, chime in with us. Let us know what you think about what we're talking about. We love doing this. If you want to compare some of the lists, if you don't agree with Ray's list, we offer that as well. So definitely Ray's like, my list is perfect.
My list is my list, man. I mean, honestly, the first two guys, I don't think you can really argue with. No. And then the other ones are depending on what you like. You know what I mean? That's all.
Definitely. All right. Well, with that being said, let's get into Tom's list. And speaking of number 2, he is missing out of this list.
Who is?
Dylan Moses. He is missing out of this list. So little spoiler alert. He is missing out of this list.
That is ignorant, but that's okay.
So Dylan Moses from Alabama is missing out of his list. But I will let you know who is in his list, and you're gonna tell me what you think, and also tell me do you think that these players are better than Moses? I think you're gonna say no already.
No.
All right, let's get through it then. Let's get through it. Number 1, the most obvious one, Micah Parsons from Penn State. Great athlete. Can pass rusher. He can, be an inside linebacker as well. He can do it all. I really do like him. I've been watching for a while. I think he's one of those players. Penn State being so close to where we at right now. He's
a top 5 pick.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think he's honest. All right, before I get to the rest of the list, would you compare him to in the sense of Isaiah Simmons?
I think he's a more physical player than Simmons.
Yeah.
I don't think he has the same types, not quite as fast.
He's not as fast.
But
no.
I honestly think, and people are going to hate me for this, I think he's a better football player.
I actually agree with you, Ray. I actually agree with you.
I do.
I like Simmons a lot. Trust me, I like Simmons a lot.
I do, but a lot of what Simmons is going to be really strong at is like off-ball linebacker, using his speed to fly around, make plays, which is fine. And the kid's going to be an excellent player. But Micah Parsons brings a lot of that, and he's physical. Correct. So I would take Parsons. I would.
No, I agree. All right, we're in the same agreement with that. All right, let's get to the rest of the list. Number 2, he has Garrett Wallow from TCU. Number 3, he has Rashid from Oregon State. I think I like him. Number 4, he has Chaz Surratt from UNC. I really like Chaz. I like him a lot.
I like Surratt a lot too. I do. Yeah.
And
I have no problem with him being in my top 5, obviously.
And another guy he got on here that I like, not as much as the other 2 guys that I mentioned, but Sherrod Ashby from Virginia Tech. So, Ray, what do you think about that list?
I like all of them players. They're more athletic than I think that those guys would be solid rotation players. I don't think they're as good as the guys I said. They're probably better than Patty Fisher. I told you, I'm a little bit of a sentimental guy. I love Patty Fisher. I like Northwestern. And I put him in there because he's been a really super productive player in college football for 2.5 years. So, but I don't have a problem with the other guys. Him liking him a little bit better than Fisher, that's fine. But I would take Surratt, Bolden, Dylan, Moses over any of them other guys that you mentioned. The kid from Oregon, again, is a nice player and he's a good athlete. He's not physical.
Yeah. Also, keep this in mind, guys. I know we're talking about the top 5 linebackers, but we're talking about going into 2020 as well. So keep that in mind too.
And also,
who do you think is going to be the best players coming into this upcoming year?
we're not supposed to be, and this is where I get into debate with guys too. We're not evaluating them as NFL players right now.
Mhm. Exactly.
That's why Patty Fisher belongs in this list
Yeah.
because
Yep.
he's a great college player.
No, I agree. And I completely understand what you're talking about with that. So for sure, I really do like Patty Fisher. I think that he's one of those. He's gonna be. I think he's still gonna be good in the NFL. I don't think he's gonna be great.
I
I
think
think he's one.
you know what's going to make him good is the fact that he'll do anything to get on the field.
No, I agree. Yeah, I like that about him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So listen now for Patty Fisher. All right, let's get into the conferences. So, like I said, we're gonna be talking about the Sun Belt Conference, and we're gonna be talking about who's gonna be the top of those that conference, and what teams are gonna be the best out of those. So we're gonna go into the East first, and we're gonna talk about the top 3 teams in the Sun Belt East. So, Ray, who you got for that?
Well, I have Appalachian State number one. Not surprising. They usually finish right near the top, if not at the top of the conference.
Mm-hmm.
Most seasons. I mean, not every season, but most seasons. Like their coach, Sean Clark, good football coach. Replacing I Drunknets. I can't remember what is exactly the guy's name, but it's something like that. He replaced him. He's in his first year, but he's been the offensive coordinator for Appalachian State since 2016. So he knows the program, he knows the players. I don't think there'll be much of a difference. Drunknet went to Missouri. He left Appalachian State to go to Missouri. So I guess he looked at that like, I mean, of course, you're in a bigger conference. It's maybe a more lucrative job.
Yeah.
But I like Sean Clark, and plus he used to be a player at Appalachian State a few years ago. So I think it's going to be a pretty easy transition. And usually they get as much talent as anybody in this conference. So I have them number one. I had Georgia Southern number two. Again, I like their coach Chad Lunsford, another guy who's been with the program. He knows what his thing. I actually like their quarterback Shea Wertz a little bit. He's a very athletic kid. He's not a polished passer at all. He's not an NFL prospect at all, but he's a good college football player, and he adds enough running and passing to get the job done. And I am a little bit. I like their I think he's a sophomore, Wesley Kennedy. It's a running back who kind of like had a nice year last year. Played pretty well. So I like Georgia Southern too. And I have Georgia State third. Quarterback Dan Ellington is actually he has NFL hopeful. He has size. He has some arm strength, but he's a little bit of he just likes to bullet the ball. But Trey Barnett, their running back, is very good. He had 1,400 yards last year, 12 touchdowns. And I like Georgia State. I mean, I think their offense is going to be pretty good again this year. And that's my top 3.
Okay. All right. I will definitely say I agree with your list. I like your list. I kind of like his slightly better. It's only one team that's a difference. So he has this is Tom, by the way. He has Appalachian State at number 1. Totally agree with that. Number 2, he has Georgia Southern, and number 3, he has Troy. I think Troy is a sleeper team. I like Troy. I think they can be a really good team. I don't believe they lost much from last year. So I think they're going to be good. The only thing about Georgia Southern, though, I'm a little worried about is that they lost a lot of secondary players, really good ones too. Kendall Valdor, friend of Inside the Hashes, good guy. One of the top corners in this conference of last year. They lost him. I think he's going to be really good with the Bears this year. We got to interview him. Obviously, we got to see him at the Senior Bowl as well. Good friend of ours. But yeah, they lost a couple of DBs that secondary. So that's worries me just a little bit. But other than that, everything else I think you said was Georgia Southern is spot on.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about Troy. I think that player wise, they're comparable. I think Appalachian State is clearly the best team, but their roster is closer to the other two teams. I wouldn't be shocked if they snuck in the 3 spot. I mean, I think what's that?
Caleb Baker is coming back, right? Or did he graduate? Yeah, he is. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I
Another
mean,
player that we interviewed.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to give away my sleeper already, but I have a guy actually from Troy who's one of my sleeper players. So,
Nice. All right,
yeah.
awesome. All right, let's get into the West. Who you got for the rest, Bray?
Okay, the West is a little bit harder for me because the only team I
I agree.
really like that much is Louisiana. I like Louisiana. They're a good team. I think they're going to be. I have them finishing number one.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Napier, their coach, does a really good job. Again, um, if I had to pick them in the conference, I think they probably would finish both of them. I would pick them below Georgia Southern and Appalachian State. But since they're in the West, I think they'll probably be okay. Again, Elijah Mitchell's a running back, over 1,100 yards, 16 touchdowns, very good football player. I have Arkansas State second. I like their quarterback Logan Bonner a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Running back Murray Marcel is actually coming into his second year, expecting to get the ball a little bit more. And Jonathan Adams is their best receiver. I think they'll. I like their talent on offense. I have a hard time saying I like any of these teams on defense, but they are what they are. You know what I mean? And I have ULM finishing third. Again, Matt Vialtar, their coach, has been there for a couple of years, does a good job. Khalib Evans, their quarterback, I actually like him. I think he has, again, he's an NFL hopeful. You know what I mean? We'll see what happens down the road. But that's my number three.
Definitely. No, I agree. This conference is a little bit harder because I feel like East is a lot more stronger, first of all, like you said. And then all the other teams are like very close to each other. Like the West is very close.
But like you said, your cornerback play is big because these teams all throw the ball a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At least they try to. And even when they do run, they run out of wide open formations and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? So,
Definitely. Let's get to Tom's list. So number one, he has Louisiana like you do. Number two, he has Arkansas State.
Mm-hmm.
And number three, he has South Alabama.
South Alabama was horrible last year. We'll see what happens.
They were.
To
be honest, they were. So we got a comment in here. This is coming from Remy. You guys can't see his name on here, but this is actually Remy. What's going on, Remy? He says, I love App State. They always got a solid run and favorite program. Remy, yes. I like App State because they compete with some of the big guys. I mean, a couple of years ago they beat Michigan, and I was just that's
that was actually a few years ago now, but that was a great day.
Dude, that's one game I will never forget. I swear that game I will never forget. But it did give me respect for them. I think who was the most recent team they was playing? I think it was don't score me for this. So I think it was Alabama that they was playing really, really good against. I think it was
Alabama.
Yeah.
It was Alabama. And Alabama does that sometimes. For some reason, they let teams hang with them a little bit until it's a big game, and then usually they do their thing. But
Yeah. So like they was kind of hanging with them, and I was like, okay. So there we go with that.
Out of the teams in this conference, they recruit better than anybody. They have that reputation as one of these teams that play good level football, so they get a lot of kids.
Definitely. Remy said that was over a decade ago. Dude,
it was a long time ago now.
know, but still it hurts me just thinking about it. Okay.
Yeah.
It hurts. Something just linger, man. Something just linger. That's his comment right there. Yeah, something just linger, man. I know it was over a decade ago. See, like even though it was over a decade ago, for me, it was like 3-4 years ago.
Well, you know what? Honestly, you know what that tells you? It tells you how much of a market left.
Yeah. No,
that you remember it that vaguely, So
that game was crazy. He also says, well, that's what took them from D1 to double A.
Yeah, right.
Double A, yeah.
It's like when Boise State first started getting really good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then you say, oh, man, they're really good in this conference. You know what I mean? So
you had to bump them up.
Yeah.
Yep. No, I agree. All right. Well, that's gonna do it for that part of it. So we're gonna talk about, and I forgot to switch this. It's supposed to be for the West. So we're gonna talk about the 10 teams and team players in this conference. So like we do each week, we do our top 5 first, and then we go into the last 10 afterwards. So Ray, let's get yours. Who is your top 5 players in the Sun Belt?
Okay, well, I have Sean Jolly, cornerback from Appalachian State. Again, talk about, hey, I only speak the truth to him. Again, I mean, again, you're going to know this. Appalachian State, I mean, they produce players, man. There's no question about that. So, he's number 1. Number 2, I have Lane Hatcher, quarterback from Arkansas State. Over almost 3,000 yards passing last year, 27 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 65.8 completion percentage. Again, another kid who just knows how to play football. But again, in this conference, he's probably the best quarterback in the conference. So, Yeah. My third one is linebacker, and this is going to be like, I'm going to let you guys know now when Jerome asks you for a sleeper, it's going to be this guy. It's linebacker Carlton Martell from Troy. He's a 5'10", 5'11", 215, 220-pound dynamite, man. Kid is dynamite. Can do everything. Can cover, can step back in coverage, can blitz, can do a little bit of everything. 114 tackles last year playing weak side linebacker. Okay, so that tells you. And again, he's only 5'10", he's 215, 220 maybe. So he needs to bulk up a little bit, but he's really good. And he's a heck of a special teams player too. So, that's going to help him out at the next level also. Number 4, I have another cornerback. I have Corey Strotter from UN Moreau. Again, 5'10", 180. Took a lot of improved his game a lot from 2018 to 2019. Again, UL Moreau, again, a good solid team. And, it's hard because with these guys, they, like you said, a lot of the best players are backline secondary guys. Mm-hmm. You don't see a lot of stud linemen. You see mostly corners, linebackers, an offensive lineman here and there, but really not. Like running back here and there, quarterback, not great play, but some players. But really, the defensive backs stand out in this conference. They do. So, my number 5 guy is the one guy who I think maybe has some NFL hopeful. His production is not great, but he's a 6'4", 250-pound guy. Had 8.5 sacks, so he's a solid player. His name is William Bradley King. Went to Arkansas State. Again, 6'4", 250 guy, can set the edge, can get some quarterback. Could probably play as a 3 tech at the next level. Needs to get a little bit stronger, but a good football player, and we'll see how it goes down the road. So,
wow, right.
That's my 5.
You and Tom had the same exact players in your top 5.
Different order or same order also?
Some of them are different order, just slightly off, but it's barely almost the same thing. So I'm just gonna go right into it, and you know how this man is with his quarterback. So you got Lane
Hatcher first, right?
You got Lane Hatcher first. You know how you were gonna do that. You should be
criticizing him, man, because this is a cornerback conference, okay?
Yeah. Hey, listen. One thing you can say about Tom, though, the man is consistent. He is consistent.
Know what, though? Sean Jolly is going to be an NFL corner, though.
Yeah, he is. Oh, yeah.
Lane Hatcher is probably not going to be an NFL quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, it is harder for a quarterback to get in the NFL than a cornerback. I mean, for obvious reasons.
But. It is. And again, we're not evaluating as NFL prospects anyway.
Yeah.
But Jolly's, if you look at his stats, man, they're really good. And this kid,
he's a beast.
He's a good player, man. I watched film on him. Like 4 games, and he's just making plays. Dude, he reminds me of Asante Samuel. He's making plays all over the place.
Confessions of the NFL. I'm sorry. Confessions of the Inside the Hatches CEO. I've been trying my best to get this man in an interview. Sean Jolly. I've been trying to get him in an interview. So wish me luck, guys. If you guys know him, if somebody watching know him,
tell him how I usually undervalue Tell him how I usually undervalue corners. I've been praising him for 5 minutes now. Okay.
Yeah. You're not interviewing him, right? No, I'm joking.
No. I love this kid.
Yeah, no,
I
I
think
do.
as a corner, he's going to be a good cover corner. And
Yeah,
as zone defense, he could be special.
correct.
And as a returner, he's really good.
Mm-hmm.
So, I
No,
like it. I like this kid a lot.
I agree.
He would look good in the Dolphins uniform. Not that they need any more cornerbacks, but
Yes. So Tom have him at number 2.
Okay.
Number 3, he has your guy, Carl. What is it? Marshall?
Martell.
Martell? Okay.
Martell. Yeah.
Carlton Martell from Troy.
Troy.
So he have your sleeper at his number 3. So y'all in the same wavelength with that. Number 4, he has William Bradley King, edge rusher from Kansas State, and then at 5 he has Corey Strouder from Monroe. So,
yeah.
What do you think about that order, Ray? I mean, it's like same players, different order.
Again, man, I don't mind. I accept. I'm not. I shouldn't. I don't want this to sound like my opinion is, but it makes more sense when we ping pong them like this and when there's really big disagreement. Man, if you want to put the top 10 and say he wanted to have I could see anybody down to my number 6 or 7 guys could be anywhere in the top 5 here. Mm-hmm. They could be. I just have them rated a little bit lower because I like other guys a little bit more. Yeah. That's all,
Yeah, I mean, it's so far the list is a lot more consistent between both of you guys than last week, because last week it was like night and day.
Yeah, last week Tom was really wrong, man.
Last week was rough. If you haven't seen last week's podcast, please look at that. Their list is almost completely different, and it just goes in a total different way. And that's like usually you guys are like pretty close. Like you have the same top 10 guys, maybe a player or two in and out of the list. Last week was like 6 out of 10 different, like completely different, like not even in the same list. It was crazy. So, all right, let's get to your last 5, Ray. Who you got?
Well, number 5, I have another corner, Shamir Jean-Charles from Appalachian State. I talked about Jolly earlier. I think this is the best cornerback, one of the best cornerback tandems in all of college football. I really do. I like Jean-Charles. If he were more of a return guy like Jolly, I might put him a little bit higher on this list, but he doesn't give you that part of his game. He's a good corner. Doesn't give you a lot on the return game. So, But I like him. He's my number 6 guy. My number 7 guy is another guy who I think has a shot in the NFL. Not going to be special, but he plays kind of in a 3-4 a 3-5 hybrid defense right now, and that's Raymond Johnson from Georgia Southern. He's a big kid, 6'3", 260. His production is not there, but he plays in a defense where he's just taking on double teams all the time and really doesn't – they don't ask him because, again, they play 4 or 5 linebacker types in their secondary, and they pretty much leave the linebackers do all the tackling. But I think Raymond Johnson has a shot in the NFL as maybe an outside defensive end, in a 3-4 scheme, because he does a really good job at Georgia Southern. Again, it's going to be the matter of he needs to put on 10 or 20 pounds to do that. Can he do that and remain the solid athlete that he is now? We'll see. But as far as being a college football player, he's a good player. My number 8 guy is Elijah Mitchell, running back from Louisiana. I talked about him earlier. I had 1,147 yards. I got 17 touchdowns and actually has improved as a pass catcher in the last 2 years. So I like Elijah Mitchell. I'm not talking about NFL prospects, but this kid probably will get a good shot in the NFL. Mm-hmm. My number 9 guy is a tight end, Isaiah Likely from Coastal Carolina, 6'4", 245 pounds, a good receiver who needs to do a better job of creating separation, but probably the best tight end in this conference and a good football player. And my last guy is Thomas Hennigan, wide receiver from Appalachian State, very good player. Had 1,100 yards last year, I believe. Good, solid, really good possession receiver. but he doesn't have consistent hands though. I mean, he had 61 receptions. I'm sorry, he had 1,100 combined yards. So he went from like 400 yards to last year he had like almost 800. So he really improved his game. He improved it as a good football player, and I think that he has a shot at the next level. We'll see.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. This is one of the things that drives me crazy about wide receivers. I can't do a wide receiver that like have inconsistent hands. Like as an Eagles fan, as you see my shirt, Eagles fan, seeing drop passes all last year, Aguilar included. There's even a meme about him dropping the ball. I can't stand wide receivers that drop the ball. I can't. It's probably the worst thing out of every position that I can't stand. Like you can be a cornerback and get burnt. You can be a quarterback that don't have great accuracy. Like I feel like you can get over that stuff. Like, but like wide receivers that drop the ball is like my biggest pet peeve. Like I don't know why.
I agree with you. I think that, like your first and foremost, your number one job is to catch the ball first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
But my thing about it is, it's like, and I agree with you about the inconsistent. But some guys Terrell Owens had inconsistent hands.
He did,
but he was a great player. Get the ball in his hands, he can make play. But his hands were not consistent.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, what bothers me is like not the guys that miss the ball every once in a while. The ones that miss it and they bat it up in the air. That drives me nuts. Because if you're not going to catch the ball, at least bring your hands down and knock the ball down.
Yeah.
Don't bat it up in the air and let someone else catch it. I mean, it's funny because we've talked about this before. I used to love Alshon Jeffrey all the way back to South Carolina. But talk about a guy who has a reputation of great hands, dropping a lot of balls the last couple of years and not keeping his mouth shut.
Yeah, that's one of those guys that are on that edge of coming back. I don't know how I feel about it. The main reason I now don't mind him coming back in a way is because of that contract. His contract is ugly.
Well, I understand that like the Eagles didn't want to cut him, or they didn't want to. I think they tried to trade him, and because they had no suitors, they didn't really want to eat that. They didn't want to eat that contract.
He's still injured, so
you know what, Tom? Honestly, it's probably why I could not run an NFL team because I would have cut him.
Yeah.
As soon as it came out of my locker room that he was bad mouthing my quarterback, I would have cut him.
Oh man, if we talk about this a lot.
As far as I'm concerned, as an NFL player, you have one job. Everything that happens inside this facility stays in this facility. Good, bad, or indifferent stays in this facility. You have a problem with a player, I don't care if we're a coach. I don't care who it is. It could be the 55th guy or the number one guy. You sit down and you talk to them. You don't talk to reporters.
I agree.
That's childish, and I hate it.
I hate it too, right? I really do.
You know what, Jerome? Right now, I think, honestly, if I were a media person, if I was covering the president, I would literally ask the president and his cronies around him, whoever they may be, did you guys open up everything because you were worried about the economy too much? And that's why we have another strike of this virus? Because doesn't that question need to be asked?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we're getting off a topic. I'm sorry. That's my fault. That's my fault. But I agree with you, Ray.
As a person who gets older by the second here, I just sit back and watch these people that are running this country, and it's embarrassing.
Yeah. Well, let's get back into the football.
Please.
We're about to have a whole different type of podcast right now.
We are.
Real quick, Remy says Alshon did keep it in the facility. Someone just snitched.
That's incorrect. He absolutely spoke to Josina Anderson himself.
He had to.
That's incorrect. Okay, but that's okay.
Yeah. All right. Well,
should have been cut.
All right. So Ray, I was the whole time you was talking about your list, I was laughing the entire time, and the reason why is that
The
You
bottom five
guys,
is completely different.
no, you have exactly the same players. Your
Really?
whole and top 10 is the same exact players, different spots here and there. But yeah, all
Wow.
10 players are 10 players that
Wow.
both got exactly the same. A little different. So number 6, he has Elijah Mitchell from Louisiana.
Louisiana. Yeah.
Number 7, he got Shamir Jean Charles from Appalachian State.
Mm-hmm.
Number 8, he got Raymond Johnson the third, edge rusher from Georgia Southern. Number
Mm-hmm.
9, he has Thomas Hennigan, wide receiver from Appalachian State. So I think you had him
Okay.
10.
Yeah, I
And
did.
then number 10, he has Elijah Likely, tight end from Coastal Carolina.
How are
So,
okay.
man, you guys' lists are very similar. It's great. I don't think we ever had this yet. I'm gonna have to
No.
talk to
I think
Thomas.
I think last year that me and Dom had some lists that were very similar.
Yeah,
When we were doing
yeah,
this last year, me and Dom had some very similar. We had some that were different, but we had some that were very similar too. So
definitely. All right, let's get into your sleeper. Ray, I ask you this each week if you have a sleeper. I know already you talk about Carlton Matral from Troy. Uh,
yeah.
do you have anybody else, or is that will be your sleeper for this
Well,
one?
I have him on defense. I think that, and when I say sleeper, I think a guy who's obviously a very good football player already, because I have him in my top 10 in this conference. But I think a guy who has NFL hopes and a guy who will probably get his, he'll play in the NFL doing something. I really believe that. I really love that kid. And
Definitely.
my other one is quarterback from Louisiana Monroe, Khalib Evans, 6'2", athletic kid with a solid, strong arm.
Mhm.
I think again, he's hopeful as an NFL prospect. So
Mhm. Definitely. We actually got a chance to interview him as well. So, good player. He's a very good player. So yeah, that will be the end of this podcast today, guys. We do appreciate each and every person in here, especially you, Remy. We do appreciate you being in the chat room. Darius, you do as well. We do appreciate each one of you guys. Make sure you come back next week and check out Inside the Hatches and check out RPO podcast. We do have a new podcast coming up called the Fantasy Aces, and the Fantasy Aces is obviously what it is. Fantasy football podcasts that are coming up next Tuesday. So, guys, please make sure you go check that out. It's going to be very incredible. We got a good crew on there. They're very knowledgeable fantasy football, and I'm very excited to check that out. So, make sure you check that out next week. Also, make sure you check out our website, insidethehatches.com. You can find all our content on there. So as you see right here, we have everything on here. Like I said, we have our Fantasy Aces podcast. It's coming up soon. We highlight some players on here and things like that. So check it out. We got gaming, podcasting, blogs, our podcast, our gaming, player interviews. So literally, you can just come in here, click on here on insidethehatches.com. And as it's loading up, you can see all our player interviews. So we have all our players interviews on here. We cover high school kids. We got college kids, all across the country. Good stories and things like that. So you can go in there and listen to our podcast on there as well. Also, if you want to go on to Spotify, we got it on Spotify as well. Spotify.com. Let me take this off real quick. Spotify.com and you search Inside the Hatches. We have all our player interviews on here as well. So you go in here and check that out as well. So please make sure you go in there and listen to a lot of our podcasts on there. Like I said before, and I'll say this every time you're on there, you don't have to buy anything, you don't have to subscribe any on it at all. All you have to do is just listen. It supports Inside the Hatches. So please make sure you go on that because that helps us. It pays the bills. It gives us better mics, it gives us better lights and stuff like that, better equipment. So please make sure you check that out Inside the Hatches on Spotify. Also, make sure you follow us on all our Instagram, Twitter, and Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, which we're all live on right now. Also, make sure you check out our YouTube where we have all these videos as well. Inside the Hatches, make sure you check out each one of them because you got different content in each one of them. So make sure you check all that out. Inside the Hatches.com, Inside the Hatches for Instagram, and Inside Hatches for Twitter. So I'm Jerome Jones, your favorite host, your number one host, and we got Ray Roberts, your number one analyst, the best guy out there, your favorite college football analyst out there. Ray, you got anything to say before we get off?
Well, listen next week as we do cornerbacks and Jerome gets frustrated.
Yes. Oh, yes. Next week we're gonna talk corners, and yeah, I'm probably gonna be frustrated because Ray's gonna say something I don't like. I know it. But
Nah.
if you guys, if you guys, we already know it's gonna be an LSU guy on there, and I always say this every time I get yelled at. People don't agree with me. LSU is DBU. I'm telling you, I'm gonna end this podcast on that note, and we're gonna discuss it next week. DBU is LSU.
We'll that explains why they've only won one national title in 100 years.
We'll discuss this next week. I'm telling you, DBU is LSU. I'm not even an LSU fan, so if you guys know I'm a Michigan fan, but I'm telling you, LSU produces the best DBs. I'm telling you, like, check it out. Look at some of the best DBs in the NFL right now. They are mostly LSU guys. But we're going to get off of that. Thank you guys for checking us out. Make sure you check us out again next week, Wednesday at 7 o'clock. We'll be here, and you get to hear us talk about some of these DBs. So, again, Jerome Jones, Ray Roberts, thank you guys so much, and you guys have a great night. Peace.